Maybe we're getting warmer. Mr. Yasser Arafat, everyone's favorite character. I have to confess to you that when I put this lesson together, I was a little bit startled at how many of these questions were answered in the affirmative when I began to analyze the name of Mr. Yasser Arafat. Confirmer of the covenant, he has everything to do with Jerusalem. There will not be a final status agreement on Jerusalem without the participation of this man, Yasser Arafat. Could he rise among 10 kings? Believe it or not, there are 10 Palestinian leaders in the Middle East that so far have withheld their support from Yasser Arafat. I have the article. There are 10 Palestinian leaders. If they would give their power to Arafat, certainly a possibility. Could he arise among a revived Holy Roman Empire? Now, on this one, we don't see how, except he has been a frequent visitor to the Vatican. And the Vatican tends to favor his side over the side of the Israelis. That's probably one of his weakest points. Does Arafat favor world government? Absolutely. He is a huge believer in the UN. As you saw earlier, he said that the UN should invade Israel like they invaded Yugoslavia recently. He is a great believer in the UN. Is he skilled at using peace to make gains for his people? Absolutely. With no army, with no power, he has moved in now and taken over a good portion of the land of Israel just through his skill and his diplomacy. How is Arafat's relation with the Pope? Apparently, from what I have read, it is quite good. Could he stand in the third temple claiming to be the Messiah? Very possibly he could do that. Could he make war against the saints? Do we have to ask? Would he change times and laws? Absolutely. Does Arafat favor strong population control policies? He has no children himself. Outside of that, I can't tell you what his views are on that point. Does the name Yasser Arafat calculate to 666? Well, his first name given at birth is Rahman, R-A-H-M-A-N. The second name by which he's now popular is Yasser, which happens to be a nickname. It was not given at birth. Yes, there are 6 letters in Yasser. Arafat, 6 letters. Is he the Antichrist? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. All I know is the Bible says the Antichrist will be a man of fierce countenance. And there's no uglier guy on the face of the earth than Yasser Arafat. And now we come to one of the most intriguing figures of the 20th century. Ted Turner of CNN said of Mikhail Gorbachev that he is the greatest world leader in the last 2,000 years. That's Ted Turner's opinion. Could Gorbachev be influential in a Middle East peace agreement? He certainly could, because he has tremendous influence with both Arabs and Jews. How could he rise to power among 10 kings? Many of the states of the ex-Soviet Union want to recreate the Soviet Union. As a matter of fact, the recent impeachment hearings against Yeltsin, one of the charges was that he was the person responsible for the dissolution of the Soviet Union. They wanted to impeach him for that. Most of the states of the ex-Soviet Union want to recreate the Soviet Union. And many of the politicians vying to replace Yeltsin come year 2000 are promising, if I get elected, I will recreate the Soviet Union. Gorbachev was against the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Yeltsin was the prime mover behind it. If Gorbachev came back to power in the Soviet Union, he certainly would be in favor of recreating the Soviet Union. There happens to be an organization there right now called the CIS, the Commonwealth of Independent States. It happens to have 10 members plus the Kremlin. And so it's very likely that this could occur. Most of the states that would comprise a recreated Soviet Union were a part of the old Holy Roman Empire. That's something many people overlook, but it is true. Does Mr. Mikhail Gorbachev favor world government? I have read at least 10 of his biographies. He is a one-worlder from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. Of all the possible candidates, none of the candidates have the legacy of peacemaking that can compare to Gorbachev's. His Nobel Peace Prize for the Velvet Revolution and the tearing down of the Berlin Wall testify to his peace efforts. Now, in my book, A Message for the President, chapter number 2, written in 1986, I stated that the Berlin Wall was coming down, and when the Berlin Wall came down, that would be the event that would throw the world into the new world order. That would be the peace achievement. I also stated that whoever was responsible for tearing down the Berlin Wall would probably be the Antichrist. When I wrote that, I did not know the name Mikhail Gorbachev. However, Mr. Gorbachev was given the Nobel Peace Prize for tearing down the Berlin Wall. Would Gorbachev have papal support for a rise to power? Absolutely. The present Pope, Pope John Paul II, this was published on May the 18th of 1992 in the U.S. News and World Report. He stated there must be a united Europe, and he thought Mikhail Gorbachev would be the ideal president for a united Europe from the Atlantic Ocean to the Ural Mountains. Is Mikhail Gorbachev capable of persecuting those that oppose him? Andrei Gromyko made the nomination speech when Gorbachev was nominated to be the head of the Politburo in 1985. However, a few years later, 3 years later to be exact, Gorbachev had consolidated his nomination speech. Gromyko said to the Politburo, "Comrades, this man has a nice smile, but he has iron teeth." Reader's Digest picked it up in October of '87 and wrote an article called "Gorbachev, the Smile and the Iron Teeth." Contrary to many people's opinion, Mr. Gorbachev has the ability to be absolutely ruthless. He removed Gromyko, the man who nominated him, from power only 3 years after he took power. Could Gorbachev inspire support from Israelis? No doubt. The Israelis credited him with releasing 600,000 Jews to immigrate from the Soviet Union to Israel. He is Israel's favorite politician. They took him to the edge of the Sea of Galilee and gave him the highest peace prize that Israel can give. All you have to do in Israel today is call the name Mikhail Gorbachev. Their eyes light up. He is their favorite global politician. Does Gorbachev promote changing times and laws? Definitely. He never tires of promoting the need for radical value shift. So here we are this evening. There are many other candidates that we have not mentioned. And we may not be able to tell you for certain who the Antichrist is. Gorbachev is highly suspicious. He's built stout. The Bible says the Antichrist will have a stout look. Yet Bill Clinton has that certain expression when he turns his face down when his enemies oppose him. That looks pretty stout at the same time. But if you put all of the clues together, there are many reasons to believe that one or two of these men could very well be the Antichrist. The Bible tells us he will be revealed at the time of the abomination of desolation, 3.5 years before the battle of Armageddon. To those of us who study the prophecies of the Bible, we may know far beyond then. As a matter of fact, if we can find a foolproof method to calculate one of these men's name, or another man for that matter, to the value of 666, then certainly we will have very strong evidence that the Antichrist has arisen on the world scene. Within the next 10 months, it's highly likely that you and I will witness the confirmation of a covenant that will pave the way for the rebuilding of Israel's temple after 2,000 years of being without one. The prophecies of the Bible say very clearly that that temple will be built. After it's built, animal sacrifice will be resumed. And then it says that the Antichrist will move into that temple, stop the animal sacrifice, say you don't need this anymore, I'm here, I am your Messiah. And that event will trigger the Great Tribulation. That's what is called the abomination of desolation. So as we sit here this evening at a very pivotal time in the prophecies of the Bible, we may not be able to tell you for certain who the Antichrist is. But in my opinion, the prophecies are so far advanced, and so many specific prophecies are being fulfilled, such as the cashless society. As you sit here right now, all of you already have your own personal ID number. It's called your Social Security. You have to have it to work. You can't buy and sell without working. You have to have it to have a bank account. As soon as the cashless society arrives in full, you'll have to have a bank account to participate. None of that will work without your Social Security number. The stage is set. No generation could fulfill all of those prophecies that pertain to the time of the Antichrist except the generation that sits in front of me right now. All of those things give me the strong, absolute conviction that the Antichrist is among us. I don't claim to know tonight for sure who he is. However, whoever he is, we probably already know his name. You probably have already read many things about him. He probably has participated in one way or another in the affairs of this world. Whoever he is, the Antichrist is most certainly among us tonight.